officials have determined that gatherings of 10 or more people pose a substantial risk to our community in its continuing efforts to combat the spread of COVID-19. In concurring with their determinations, I also find that this meeting is imperative to the continued operation of town government and services, which are vital to public safety and confidence during this emergency. As such, this meeting will be conducted without a quorum of this body physically present in the same location. At this time, I also welcome members of the public accessing this meeting remotely. Even though this meeting is being conducted in a unique manner under unusual circumstances, the usual rules of conduct and decorum apply. Thank you for your patience. And if everybody could just introduce themselves and say who's in the room with you. I'm Eileen Flockhart, and I'm alone in the room.
Jay Perkins, I'm alone in the room.
Okay.
Kristen Murphy, Natural Resource Planner. I'm alone in my cubicle, but there are others in the room.
Hi, Doug. Gwen English, and I am alone in the room.
Okay. All right. We'll stay tuned to anybody who comes in as things happen. If everybody had a chance to look over minutes, did anybody find anything that was needed to be changed or adjusted? I didn't see anything.
How many people do we need to approve these? All three?
I don't know. Do we need a quorum to do stuff here?
Yeah, it's interesting. I was kind of just wondering that myself. So were members appointed to this, or did they volunteer? How was membership established?
I think it was pretty much volunteers who had been working, and then when we became part of the Conservation Commission, everybody just kind of moved over. Nobody was appointed. I know.
So then I don't think that there would be an established quorum, right?
And as a subcommittee, it might be different than a full committee. Oh.
I think you're good to just accept the minutes with the folks that are here. I mean, both Jay and I don't vote, so it would just be the two of you. Right, Jay? You don't typically vote, correct?
No.
So Gwen and I will vote. I move to accept the minutes as written.
Okay. All right, second.
Okay. I'll give you a quick update on the Arbor Day event that we had at Gilman Park. It was attended by a large crowd of about 6 people. But Rustine came down, and Greg was there, and Gwen and Doug and I and Deb Twombly were there. And Russ did a very good job of reading the proclamation, which was signed. And so we've got that all set to go. And we looked at the 7 new trees that have been planted, and all have water bags, the tree diapers attached, and everything seems good. They're all October glories. And I was wondering, we have 2 October glory trees on Park Street Common, which have, for the second time in about 6 or 7 years, have developed that black spot thing. I didn't see any of that on the new trees, but I just wondered if that's something we need to worry about. But Jay, I think you're muted again.
I did. We can look at it. I'll take a look at them.
Okay.
I didn't realize that was on those at Park
Well,
Street.
it happened a couple of years ago, and I think I asked Dave Short about it, and he said, no, it's not a huge problem. And but when I saw it, it was just those 2 trees, not any other maples on the common. And
On the October flores?
yeah, the Scully tree and the one near the point. So anyhow, we'll keep an eye on that. But I just want to be sure, since we have all the same tree at Gilman Park, that if something comes up, we want to be aware of it. I was sort of hoping that we could have a little bit of variety, but the other sweet gum trees they wanted to do were not available. But that brings up your point, Kristen, that we want to know what native species we can get at local nurseries. And if that's what we want to do, we need to know, can they get them for us, or they'll just say, well, they're not, you'll have to wait 10 years for that kind of tree or something. So, but anyhow, so we've checked off that box for our Tree City USA application, and I have a copy of it to send with our reapplication process. So, but the trees look good out there, and they made a nice sort of welcoming space all the way around in kind of a circle. And Greg certainly has plans for both more trees and a playground and a bunch of stuff. So it was nice to hear that. And I think he and Rustine had a chance to chat about it, which was probably good. So that's all there was for that. And
yeah, I did get out there, not for the event, but I went out earlier in the day after the trees had been planted, and it was a nice change. I think you could kind of visualize the change in, there's shade spots out there now in the grassy area. I just think it's a good addition.
Yeah, you could sort of see some kind of very low-key, family musical event, families with kids and blankets and playing in that grassy area. And there's still a little ball field. And so it's got a lot of potential. And it would be nice to see more people hanging out there. But so I'm going to move on to where we are with the tree ordinance. And I'd first like to thank Gwen and Kristen and Sally as well for a lot of work that went into that. Kristen presented it to the Conservation Commission last night, and they're going to take a good look at it and maybe have a more lively discussion of, what their input might be and if they have any suggestions. But Kristen, you want to sort of add to that a little bit?
Yeah, I mean, we didn't talk in too much detail last night, but, I kind of went over where this would fall in regulations, how we've gone the town ordinance route, and we did not step through the document. But I think it would be helpful, perhaps at the next meeting, to have it earlier on the agenda with a presentation from someone from the tree committee to kind of step through the components of the document. So that moving forward, the Conservation Commission, following a recommendation from your group, could then recommend to the select board that this be considered for adoption. So I think we're really close. And I suggested to the commission, if they had any comments, to get them to me. I did not put a deadline on that, but if you have one, I can follow up today with an email to them on when we would like comments by.
Oh, that's a good idea. When is their next meeting?
July
second Tuesday of July?
13th. Yeah. So typically we have all materials by July 2nd. But that, it feels like that's knocking on our doorstep already.
When I was looking through the tree ordinance, I had a couple of spots that I wanted to make a comment on, and I wondered, I know that I sent along a comment that Greg Jordan had about using the term caliper versus DBH, and that's something we can contemplate. But in the section under tree warden, and it goes down to assessment of trees for potential hazards to public safety.
What page are you on?
I think this is page 4.
Oh, yeah, top of the page.
Yeah, top of the page.
So trees. Yeah,
Refers to the Site Review Technical Advisory Committee.
yep.
Okay. I would very much like to see the may change to a shall.
That I'll let Jay comment on that. Well, that was something that based on a conversation we worked on this for a while a few weeks ago, and at this point I shouldn't even go here. Jay, you should be the one to share your thoughts on this. My interpretation was that this was not a task that you felt was part of your part of your assignment as a tree warden, and that if they asked you to help, that you would be willing to, but to participate in all the technical advisory committee proceedings, that was not, you didn't feel that was really part of your role. Did I misinterpret that?
No, I think you said it well. And the planning board has their own regulations, and like I said, it's a lot, and I always step in and I would help any requests from Kristen and folks at planning on anything they need. But to have it as part of it, I think it's too much.
Would it clarify it if we once again referred to, if there's a new park being planned somewhere in town, would that go before the planning board?
No, probably not.
No.
Or some, if the shall referred to public and street trees and park trees, then the shall would be more appropriate to have Jay be responsible for. But when it comes to private development or whatever, he really doesn't have that kind of jurisdiction, I guess, is what I'm guessing.
Right. I think that's why we left it, as I would help or respond to any requests for help. And I think that's where we should leave it as may. Kristen, what do you think about this?
Yeah, I agree with you, Jay. I do think Eileen has a good point that landscaping within the town right-of-way and town properties should receive some sort of consultation or coordination with you if, your crew and staff are the ones ultimately responsible for maintaining and managing those trees. But I also look at this document and I see, holy cow, Jay.
Yeah, I know. I know. It's like we've just given Jay another whole,
A lot.
a huge job.
And I don't know that it's a new job. I guess I feel like for the first time I sort of understand, and I think it's important that we do, but I sort of understand the weight of this workload, and I think it's good. So I guess so I too would defer to you, Jay, but to me, I think maybe it could be revised to say shall for town right-of-way and town properties, and then may for for the TRC, because I think, and it's also technical review committee, but I think,
Right.
Knowing that you can be a second, a second person to bounce these things off. I review a lot of those and express concerns a lot about, uniform tree species, for disease, just like you brought up, Eileen, but sometimes it's met with deaf ears. So I think maybe splitting those two areas out would be helpful.
Yeah.
I can do that.
Okay.
I agree. Thank you.
Yeah, I agree with you, Kristen. Reading this and putting it all together, I was overwhelmed by the amount of work that Jay is overseeing, and it's a lot.
And I guess it begs the question, Jay, is there some of that burden that this committee can help you with?
Is what?
Is there some, sorry, I don't know where my mic is. Can this tree committee help you with some of that burden? Is there some responsibilities here that are attributed to you that this committee could assist with?
I'd have to review it, looking at it that way, but I don't think so at this point.
I'd like to, sort of segue to another piece of our tree committee pie, the educational component of it, that I would love to see Bob Glowacki and all of us put our heads together and do a little piece on who is a tree warden and what does he do? And, we had that gentleman who came to a meeting before who didn't even know we had a tree warden. And I'm willing to bet that you could ask 75, 80% of the people in this town, did you know we have a tree warden? Do you know who he is? And just having that information, the fact that there is that position and, it's important enough to be there. Is it important enough to really fund intelligently and, sufficiently? But, if people know more about it, when it comes to, making some adjustments and improvements in funding, that they say, oh, did you see what this guy has to do? Oh my God, yes, he needs more staff. He needs some more money to do. He needs one of those cherry picker trucks to do this. Yes, he does. But if people don't know, they look at it and say, well, we can't afford to do that,
Yeah. I think that could be a double-edged sword too. The phone could start ringing really fast.
I know. Well, we could find a way to do it delicately so we don't kill you with kindness there and say, oh, did you know what he did? Oh, I'm going to call Jay.
Yeah.
But I think everybody's realizing, how many different pieces of the pie there are for Jay's work, which is a piece of what he also does.
It's busy at times, most of the time.
Most of the time.
I think if budget recognition or support is part of it, it would be helpful, Jay, to somehow track the number of responses and interactions you're having with regard to this. I don't know if that's a burden or an easy thing to do, but are you usually reached out to by email or is it by phone?
Mostly 99% of the time by phone message. It's usually in a hurry, tree.
So that's a tougher thing to track, but okay.
As far as doing unless anybody had any other comments or questions about the ordinance, I think giving the Conservation Commission and anyone else we can think of time to look at it and reflect on it and say, okay, we've got a couple of weeks to see what other kind of tuning up we might need to do. And then I would guess sometime after the Conservation Commission has some discussion about it, then down the road, we would plan to present it to the Select Board. I think we want to be able to say to the Select Board, not only have we created this document and gotten input from a lot of sources, but that the Conservation Commission has weighed in on it. If there's anybody else, any other groups that we should have get input from and say, this is the product of a lot of a concerted effort from a lot of different groups in a way, so that I think it stands a better chance of approval if we can do that. So,
Right.
I did want to talk specifically with Jay and Gwen present about the caliper versus DBH. And I guess, so my understanding was our zoning or maybe site plan subdivision regs had caliper. It was misspelled, but had caliper in it. And when the significant tree regulations were updated, my understanding was they switched to DBH because it talks not only about, size, but tells you where on the tree to measure it. And so it seemed like a more intuitive way, but I don't know how trees are sold in a nursery. So Greg probably made that suggestion based on how trees are sold. So Jay, do you have thoughts about that?
Yeah, they're typically sold by caliper. Most retail stratum circle and all of them are sold. That's what I'm used to, is by the caliper.
Oh, where do they measure the caliper, Jay?
It's in the middle between the top of the stem coming out of the root ball to the start of the first branches, right between halfway point between those two.
Okay.
And that's the standard of where they measure it from.
Okay.
So it would be center stem.
So when we have mature trees, Jay, does that still apply? If you have like a multi-trunk mature tree, how would something like that work?
It would be from the main stem. However, just trying to think. I don't have a lot of experience with that because most of the newer trees, anything over a 4 or 5 inch caliper is very difficult to plant into haul without specialized equipment.
Yeah.
So I would say it would be by the main stem, by the leading stem, and similar to the same place, but you can do it both ways.
That's a good idea. Maybe it's caliper for new trees and new plantings, and it's DBH to evaluate.
Right.
I like that idea. We can add that in the definitions.
Yeah, I like that. And I think, for people who are looking to purchase a new tree, caliper is probably fairly easy to get your head around. You can hold on to a trunk of a tree and say, oh, that's a good sized tree.
Right.
But when you're looking at a tree on High Street that's getting cut down, DBH makes more sense.
Exactly. So I think both.
Okay, good. Was there anything else? You said that I didn't see the note from Greg about that. Was there anything else that he had mentioned?
No, he had just gotten it, and I guess he'd thought about wanting to make that comment a while ago. So he just shot me that quick thing, and I sent it on to Kristen. But so I haven't gotten any additional feedback from Greg yet.
Okay.
I kind of thought he was going to be here today, but we'll have to catch up.
Okay. And Kristen, I'll go through and change. I wondered about this, the advisory review committee, change it to technical review.
Yeah.
I'll change that to TRC. At the end, and we may want to postpone any big discussions about this, but at the end of the ordinance pages, I put in notes of things that I thought at some point we'd have to review and discuss, like penalties and enforcement.
Yeah.
And I guess my feeling was that, in reading the Arbor Day documents, they seem pretty. They made a comment that those really need to be in an ordinance. So I thought at least these could be placeholders, and we can use them down the road and figure out what what penalties would be, what that process would look like, where money would be held, because I have no idea how that would work. But I thought at least we could have something in the document that indicates that is coming. And if you have thoughts, we certainly can. It's up to you, Eileen, if you want to discuss it now or wait or.
Well, I think it is something that we need to somehow tackle. I know when I read the Portsmouth provisions for their penalties and stuff, they have a legal counsel on staff who handles any kind of payments for abuses, and I don't think we've got anybody who's raising their hand to say, sure, I can do that, and to add that to Jay's plate sounds like, I don't know. It's important to know that there is a pen, but it's sort of like, if you walk your dog on Park Street Common, there's $100 fine. I haven't ever seen anybody get fined $100 for walking their dog.
Mm-hmm. And we don't have a legal department. The town attorney, we have a town attorney that we can call, but it adds up. And anything legal is expensive. And Hampton actually has legal. I think Portsmouth does too. That works for the city all the time.
Yeah,
and we just don't.
Is it unusual for a town our size not to have a legal department? No.
I'm not sure.
I don't think so.
Yeah.
I wonder if we could look at Keene. Keene seems like isn't it a similar community, and see.
Does Dover?
Good idea.
Dover is much larger, but Dover does have on-staff legal.
Oh. Well, there may be something that we'll also get some feedback from the Conservation Commission on too, to see, because obviously you've set it up as sort of questions of how could we do it, and I think that might be something they would respond to as well. Kristen, did they appoint a person from the ConsCom to the tree committee?
No, I realized that after the meeting. That was one of the things that my intention for raising it, but no, we did not. So we'll have to talk about that in July.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, okay.
I think it could be challenging just with the daytime meetings, but we'll see.
Yeah. I know that Dave Short said he'd be glad to help us with anything that we're doing. Just don't make him come to a meeting.
Speaking of
since
which,
he was already there for the Conservation Commission.
I'm getting texts right now that I need to get to the next meeting, so I'm going to have to take off.
Okay, thank you, Jay.
Thank you, Jay. Good to see you.
Thank you.
Have a good day.
You as well. Thank you.
Ooh. Down to bare bones here.
Yeah, we are. This is the hardcore.
Yeah.
But
I am really pleased with how this ordinance has come together. I think you guys did. I mean, it was mostly Gwen and Sally who did the work here, and I think. Oh, hi, Sally.
Hi, Sally.
There she is.
I think
we were just talking about you.
It really looks great. I'm pleased with how this has come together. I think a town ordinance is the right fit for this regulation. So
yeah.
Well done, you guys.
Thank you.
Well done, all three of you. And it's just great to be able, I say it every time that, I sit here and I go, I got all these amazing people that show up and have all these skills and we get stuff done. I'm like, okay. Let's go with it. But I think we really are close. And as I was saying, if we get a little more input from the Conservation Commission and anybody else who might want to weigh in, then when we get to the select board, we're in a pretty good spot to be able to say, how can you not do this, right?
So,
Hi, Sally.
better late than never.
That's okay.
I missed, of course, the earlier discussion. Kristen, how did it go last night? You just shared the document with the Conservation Commission. It will be discussed next month. Is that correct?
Yeah, and I was just saying I had forgotten to ask for a representative. So I'll have to bring that up in July as well.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
So I wonder if this committee would benefit from a deadline. So if July 2nd is when we want to have this document finalized to get to Concom, should we have a deadline for comments from this committee?
Oh, yeah. Could we say, please send us comments by July 2nd? Does that give them enough time?
I don't think it gives enough time. So if this committee is providing comments to make changes, that wouldn't give enough time. So maybe I was thinking the 18th or the 25th, and then that would give a week to incorporate any changes.
Yeah, okay.
Does that make sense?
Yes, does to me.
Tell me those dates again.
Yeah, so if this committee got comments back to whoever they should direct them to, Gwen or Sally or myself, by either the 18th or the 25th at the latest.
Of July?
No,
June.
Oh, of June. June, I'm looking. 18th and 25th of July, those are Sundays. I don't think they're going to want to do that.
I think we should do earlier rather than later, just so we don't miss the train. So I would say that, and people have already seen the document, but if we give people the deadline of the 18th, I think that's plenty of time for comments, but also time to incorporate them for the.
So the 18th?
Yeah, the 18th.
Yeah.
And so the thinking is, the Conservation Commission already has the document, right?
Yeah.
So would we send them a revised document based on the comments from the tree committee, or what? How would that unfold?
Yeah, that's a good question. I mean, I was envisioning, I guess it depends on what the changes are, right?
Okay.
But it's probably likely there won't be many changes.
Yeah.
So
okay.
If that's
I am guessing we haven't heard any alarms from anyone. So okay. So we'll just deal with that when the deadline comes up, the 18th, and we'll see where we are. Right? Okay. I think that makes sense. And if the three of us would be the ones who've been working on this, would incorporate those changes, that timing works for me. That timing works for me. So, Eileen, would you send out a message to the committee asking for comments by the 18th?
Yeah, I can do that.
Great.
Am I muted? No.
Oh, you're good.
And we have, are there email lists for everybody on the ConsCom committee on their page?
I have their emails. I do have their email addresses.
Okay.
Well, we're talking about a message to the tree committee. That's what we're talking about, right?
No. I thought you were talking about the Conservation Commission.
No.
Asking them to respond by the 18th of June.
Oh, no. It's that the tree committee will respond by the 18th of June, and then we'll incorporate those, whatever changes there might be, for discussion at the Conservation Commission at their next meeting, which is, when is their next meeting? Is it a week early?
July 13th.
Oh, July 13th. Okay.
Okay. So we want everybody who wasn't here to respond.
Yep.
Okay.
Eileen, I can send out just those, I can just make the edits that we talked about today. I can revise that and send it out to you if you want me to do that. I can do that immediately.
Well, yeah, whether
And they'd have the updated with the caliper issue and the technical review committee.
why don't you just give me like 2 or 3 of those bullet points, and I'll include that in the email.
Okay, I can do that.
That might make it easier for people to focus on that.
Yep, they'll find it more easily. Okay.
One question the commission had, they asked about the different colors in the document, and I wasn't sure either. So when I presented it to them, I kept the colors there because I didn't know if that would be a part of the discussion that we were having.
I think that was just oh, am I muted?
No.
I think that was just a holdover from our editing.
Okay.
Rather than something they needed to pay attention to.
Okay.
Right. Those were changes that we made after our last meeting, and I just thought it might be easier. And it was after I met with Jay. So it was based on the conversation with Jay, and I just thought it would maybe make it easier if you all knew what had changed since the last meeting.
Yeah.
But,
okay.
But they can be black now.
Okay. In addition to the ordinance, there's one other thing I wanted to just bring up. There are a couple of things we had talked about. Maybe doing another tree walk and talk and tree labeling, and I think we want to wait on those discussions until everybody's here. But one thing that I think we could sort of begin to think about, when I looked at the recommended tree list that Kristen sent us and some other things that we talked about, to look at the angle of the educational component of the tree committee, and how do we want to begin to do that? You know, if the tree ordinance is set, then what's our mission? What are we trying to accomplish? And I know that Bob Glowacki had suggested that we could do little videos about stuff. We could do a sit down talk in front of his little studio. We could do a bunch of things. But ways to engage, kids in schools now that even though schools are winding down, things have been happening, pollinator gardens and stuff at the middle school. I don't know if it's still happening there. What other aspects of the community? I know that folks at Riverwoods were suggesting we could take a walk over there in their arboretum. And what other kinds of things are available in town that people might not know about? And, so I'm just trying to, brainstorm things that we might want to do and ways to make information, like, for instance, this tree list, ways to make that accessible to the public. And not everybody, as Bob has mentioned a couple of times, not everybody goes to the town website and looks through the committee and looks to see information. What other ways could it be more user-friendly, I guess, is what I'm trying to say. And, things that we could do in the community. Maybe we get a booth at the team music event on Swayze Parkway or something, or things like that we could just be thinking about. And when we talked about labeling the trees in Swayze Parkway after doing the walk, and if there is a music event down in Swayze Parkway, maybe at the same time we have a little tree walk, or we have something for kids. We have a scavenger hunt. You got to find all these trees. I guess that's the teacher in me coming out saying, we need to do this kind of stuff because that's how people learn about the trees, and that's how people care about the trees.
Yeah, I think all of those are fantastic ideas. But I think we should start first with, so when this is preparing to go to the select board, maybe some blurbs about the ordinance. I loved your idea about what is a tree warden, and that, so we start maybe with, hey, heads up, this is something we're considering. Here's a public hearing on it. Or, hey, this was adopted. Maybe we want to wait until after it's been adopted. And then do outreach to make the community aware that the regulatory side of it exists. But I also like highlighting, just like you had sent me the other day about, hey, there's lots of stuff happening relevant to trees in town. The tree committee is a part of some of this. So Facebook is a great option for regular shares about that. And then some of these targeted event-based things, I think are great. It's a matter of capacity. So maybe come up with some sort of frequency for how often you want to have community touch points, and then develop a schedule and some concept events.
Yeah. Well, I think I can sort of throw that out for everybody, in addition to asking for feedback on the ordinance by the 18th, and say, we're also going to be discussing that in our July meeting, and bring your ideas and suggestions, and we can kick that around.
So we've kind of gone through this with rains as well. And to me, it seems like having a list of the events kind of helps you think of more events. And so maybe if you start with a list of the things that you just mentioned when you send it out to the committee. And then as time permits, the committee can pick and say, hey, time would be great for there's this event at Swayze Parkway. This would be a great thing to plug into the tree walk along the parkway, or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Well, I can work on just a bunch of ideas, right? Throwing them out, and if anybody else,
I think lists are very provocative, and I think that we get a list out there, and it will lead to other things. It will be very productive, I think. I like that.
This made me think of something. I was in Pictures Worth about a month ago, and somebody, I don't know if it was Bill Child's work, but there were beautiful paintings of trees. And I commented on them, and I told John what the tree committee was doing. He was very excited about it. Oh. He said, gosh, anytime you want me
Is John the owner?
John Siegel, and he said, I'd be more than happy to do like a special exhibit on trees. But I just thought of that, and I thought, God, it would be fun to have like an art day where people would go out and on Swayze Park or throughout town and get artists to go out and paint trees and then have those displayed.
Paint trees, photograph trees.
Photograph trees too.
And some of your Water Street businesses, Water Street Bookstore did that wonderful thing with the kids in the middle of a pandemic, and they couldn't touch anything or go anywhere, and they dropped off their artwork in a box outside on the steps, and they created a window for us for that. You could sort of picture things hanging outside at the Green Bean or John's or any place where you could do stuff like that. I think it's, but it's nice to hear that someone, like John gets enthusiastic and says, oh, I could do that.
Yeah, he was very excited. He was also very grateful that there was a group that was trying to do what they could to increase the number of trees on our streets and protect the trees that we have.
Yeah. Speaking of which, outside, not John's place, but a little bit down by the corner, is a tree that's died. And I don't know what happened to that tree, but it's not a brand new tree.
Oh.
In front of the little green boat out building that's now a noodle shop or something. Dead as a doornail.
Oh.
So
that would be something we should raise to Jay.
Yeah.
Huh.
Yeah. I meant to say something to Jay before he left, but anyhow, I'm sure, if you're a shop owner and all of a sudden the tree in front of your shop dies, that's sad.
Yeah.
But
Good to know.
yeah. Well, I'll do some more brainstorming and mention it to a couple of people and just sort of see where we go. And I know that Deb Twombly had talked about doing something with tree labeling, so I may ask her to do a little more research. She found one company. I know there's a couple of others that we can explore.
I had talked to, I actually sent a message to somebody at, I can't remember whether it was Bowdoin or Colby, who had done some tree work on campus, and it was a really cool label, but I haven't heard back.
Oh, okay.
But I did talk to Kevin Green about labels, and he was going to look into something. And I think labeling our trees is really a way to go. And we might start by labeling the newly planted ones and take it from there. But we have to have some sort of a system for doing it. But I think it's very important in terms of education, so people can look at the tree and say, "Oh, that's what that is," and I love it. I'm going to put one in my yard.
Right.
So.
Right.
I think Riverwoods has labels on their trees, and they have little pictures of leaves on them, so you can identify the leaf and match it to the tree. Of course, they match it with the right label, but and then I think it's VOSS. That was the name of the company. I haven't looked into it, but
V as in Victor.
V as in Victor. I'm pretty sure that's what it is.
Okay.
They've got labels all throughout the campus on their trees, which is pretty cool.
And Voss Signs is very reasonable.
Oh, so you've seen them.
They do almost all of our kiosk orders.
Oh, really? Okay.
They're not local, but they are good.
Okay.
Huh. Okay.
Okay.
All right. In spite of the small numbers here, I think we've come up with a lot of great ideas, and I will send around a little summary of what we've done, plus the request to give us feedback on the ordinance before the CONSCOM wants to discuss it. And so their meeting would be the 13th of July. So when do we want to try to meet again? I'm looking at the 7th or the 14th, but maybe we want to meet before they? I don't know.
What? I don't have my calendar. What day is the 18th? Is that
Of June?
of July? Oh, yeah.
No, you don't want that. That's a Sunday.
Oh, no, of June.
June is.
God. Yeah. Now I'm confused. 18th of June.
June 18th is a Friday.
That's a Friday. So if we need to have a meeting, maybe it would be the following Wednesday.
In June?
Yeah.
Well, I gotta tell you,
much.
my husband's having shoulder surgery the day before, so
No, you're not.
I'm not volunteering for that.
No,
Okay.
No.
You don't want to do that.
you need to take good care of him.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's-
Yeah.
I don't think we need to.
Maybe we don't need one.
I mean, unless I got a bunch of responses from the other members of the tree committee, like, whoa, stop the music. Yeah, this doesn't look right. I don't think we're going to get that response. I think we might get some suggestions, but I think we would be all right to meet, let's say, July 7th, which would be before the CONSCOM, or maybe we want to meet right after they meet. I don't know. What's your thought?
Well, if we met after their meeting, we could then discuss whatever suggestions they have before we take it to the select board.
Yeah, that might make the most sense.
So that would make us, we're talking now about the 14th?
The 14th.
Yeah.
So 14th work for you folks?
So far, so good.
Kristen?
I think so. I'm checking.
Okay.
Wednesday, July 14th at 8:30.
Bastille Day. We'll have to run down the street carrying wine glasses on a tray.
Liberté, fraternité.
Egalité.
Egalité.
So, Sally, your question and this discussion kind of prompted, you were saying, how will this unfold with the Conservation Commission? Maybe the best approach is to include them in that deadline, that comment deadline, for the tree committee, have the July 13th meeting be them prepared to recommend that this move forward to the select board.
Oh.
Is that too fast, do you think? Because if your intention is to go from the July, what did we just say, 14th meeting to the select board, you want to do that with their recommendation, right?
With the Conservation Commission recommendation. Yeah, that's a good point in terms of the timing.
We might want to have some time to digest what the Conservation Commission has suggested too.
Yeah.
Either way.
So,
yeah, but
if you'd like to come down to our office, we can pull a file and you can review it on whatever information.
You know what I always say when we have dilemmas like this and involvement, and democracy's messy. It's good, but it's messy. So nothing's smooth about it. But
No.
I'm guessing that it would be, so we can say to the Conservation Commission, please look at it by the 18th, be prepared to discuss it at your next meeting. But I think that they're having a discussion might be more productive of the final document than just leaving it to individual comments, because I think those discussions usually are productive.
Mm-hmm.
So we can go ahead and tell them, we can say to the Conservation Commission, this is what we're doing. We're having comments by the 18th. If you want to share any comments with us ahead of time, great, but be prepared to discuss it at the next meeting. And I also think that as these things go, and having been on the Conservation Commission, that, these are all busy volunteers and probably don't pay too much attention until a couple of days before the meeting.
Deadline, that's right.
That's why deadlines are good, but
okay, that sounds good.
And it's also, from what Bob was saying, it is possible that the next Conservation Commission meeting could be live at the town office.
Oh, yeah.
So we might have an opportunity to sit in on that discussion.
Yeah.
Not that we couldn't do it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, my hope is there will be a tree committee member there to present and discuss this.
Yeah.
And that's, let's see, that's, I want to make sure. We said that was on the 13th, right?
Yes.
Okay. And when will we know if it's live or Zoom? We know?
This month, the 11th, I think, is when the order expires.
Oh, I see.
And I think the select board is meeting to develop policy on the 14th of June.
Bob was saying he wasn't sure if live meetings would apply to us as a subcommittee and that we might still be able to meet.
No, I think you'd still have to. I was just saying that there's a hybrid option available. If I would assume there's still a quorum. Because what you guys mentioned before about having a quorum. So I guess you'd have to look into that, but
yeah. News at 11. We don't know.
Yeah.
I think when we were at Gilman Park, Russ Dean was commenting on that and was hoping that he could get some more information on the possibility of hybrid meetings.
Yeah.
We'll have that ready at some point soon. But he didn't, at that point, he didn't know whether those would be an option or not. Would be great.
And last night, Julie Gilman had said that their intention, I think, is to develop a policy at their meeting on the 14th, which is after the order expires. So they'll have the governor's order in hand to use to set that policy.
Okay.
All right. So stay tuned, everybody. Well, I think we've done quite a bit, and I feel good about, being able to get some input and having a good discussion in July from the Conservation Commission, knowing that we'll feel a little more confident to proceed after that. And then maybe with that feedback, we'll get a better sense of, what our timeline is going to be.
There was at one point we discussed the need for our legal review of the ordinance. So would that happen before the select board or after the select board?
I'm guessing before, no? I don't know.
I don't know how the ordinance is.
And who would it be? Who would?
They would check how that works. They might request it, but I'll check with Russ to find out.
Great.
Okay.
We're good?
All right. Well, if no one has any other new business or anything else they want to bring up, I think we can let you go on your way and keep cool for the rest of the day.
Okay.
I've heard that Thursday and Friday are going to be 70 and 68 or something, and I thought,
yay!
Doesn't that sound good?
I can't wait.
Oh, Lord.
Great.
All right. Thank you all.
Good meeting.
Thanks very much.
Thank you. See you later.
Have a good day, everybody.
Bye-bye.
Oh, Bob?